considering how popular Kuan Yin is in Asia, it's not surprising. And I guess what I want to say is that I guarantee that everyone here in this room has some kind of connection to Kuan Yin. You might not know it yet, but there is a connection. So maybe a few degrees of separation, but it's there. So you can look up for it. Before I talk about Kuan Yin, I wanted to give sort of a brief context of the Buddhist context of what we're going to be talking about. And to do that, I want to start with a phone number, a Buddhism phone number. You might be wondering, what is this Buddhism phone number? Well, Jesus has a Facebook page, so I think it's appropriate, so quite okay that Buddhism should have a phone number. This was given to me by my undergraduate advisor, and basically it's a mnemonic. So this hyphen there, it separates before the common era and the common era, and pinpointing sort of historical points in Buddhist history. So, as we can see here, Buddhism has existed for over 2,500,000 years, and like any other religious tradition, it's undergone changes. It's branched off to sects and various subsects, and as we're all very aware, the three main sects of Buddhism, Theravada.
Could you use speaker? Maybe my recorder is not clear.
Is this okay? Is that better? Of the three, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana, Mahayana has the largest following in the world of adherents, about 185 million, I believe. And so between Mahayana and Theravada tradition, there are quite a few differences, but the one that is of most interest to us is that dealing with the conception of the ideal man. Or a woman, I suppose. And for the Mahayana tradition, that is the Bodhisattva, meaning enlightened being, right? So this conception of Bodhisattva sort of changes when you get the emergence of the Mahayana tradition. And mainly what is significant here is that the Bodhisattva will forego nirvana in order to assist all sentient beings so that they may also enter nirvana before they go. So this sort of new concept helped to bring about an expansion of the Buddhist pantheon. And of that pantheon, one of the most famous of all of the Bodhisattvas is, of course, Avalokiteshvara. And you may know him by other names, or her by other names. And in Tibet, we are familiar with the Dalai Lama. It is believed there that he is the living manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And so, of course, there is influence that has penetrated the consumer market as well. In Thailand, of course, many scholars have recognized Kuan Yin as the following of Kuan Yin as sort of cultic. We see amulets of Kuan Yin, stamps of Kuan Yin. In China, to be called a Kuan Yin, a female Kuan Yin, is sort of the reverence to grace and beauty. So it's a paragon of beauty in China. So here we see an advert for a whitening cream, a facial whitening cream with Kuan Yin. And of course, this gentleman with a tattoo, iPad cover, tea. There's also a story and a history connected with Kuan Yin tea. And there is also, in pop culture, a reference to Kuan Yin. So here is a still from the music video Coldplay and Rihanna. And here Rihanna is in this sort of pose that it's undeniable to sort of trace the Kuan Yin influence here. And for those of you who have cameras, there's a camera there, and we have a camera. The camera in the back of the room, I'm pretty sure that's a Canon camera. There's a connection there too with Kuan Yin. So this is the current logo here, but the original logo was Kuan Yin. So this is the 1934 logo of the Japanese Canon company, and it was used on the prototype cameras. And it was changed because the owner thought that it should be a little bit more universal, so it was changed to Canon. So anyway, so we have this sort of influence and this popularity of Kuan Yin, but who exactly is Kuan Yin? Who is this Bodhisattva? And I want to share a quote. She protects in sorrow, and so millions of times the prayer is offered. Great mercy, great pity, save from misery, save from evil, broad, great, efficacious, responsive Kuan Yin Buddha. And I think the key here is the term responsive, because it is also even within her name, the etymology alone of Kuan Yin is sort of her own nature, her Buddha nature, because the term is often translated into the English as the one who hears the world's sounds, or the perceiver of the world's cries, sounds. And when Avalokiteshvara is introduced into China, it gradually takes on a more, it completely becomes female. So what we see today is Kuan Yin is in the female form. And here we see early images of Avalokiteshvara Kuan Yin to the far left during the Tang Dynasty. Very androgynous, and then move on to, it wasn't not until the Ming Dynasty that it takes on the female form. It's quite prominent in much of the art and literature and paintings of Kuan Yin. And we can even see it here. The example is in Thailand alone, in Thimpha. This image was casted in during the Tang Dynasty, which is the period where it's still sort of this androgynous figure. It's not yet feminized. There are many stories associated with Kuan Yin, but perhaps the most well-known is that of the legend Mao Shan. And there are different versions, as with any other story. There are different versions of the tale. But the story is a little bit something like this. Mao Shan is the daughter of the king, one of 3 daughters, and she refuses to marry. And after numerous requests from her father, he eventually is upset and decides that she needs to be beheaded. So she's sent off to be executed, and right before it comes down, she is rescued by a spirit who is said to have manifested in the form of a tiger. And this tiger takes her down to the realms of hell, the Buddhist hell realms, and it is said that she has freed those, her presence alone in the hell realms was powerful enough to free those from out of the hell realms. And then it is said that she is then moved to, some versions say a mountain, some versions say an island, but what's important here is the name, the Potaka mountain or island, where she meditates for 9 years and cultivates Buddhist virtues, Bodhisattva virtues. And meanwhile, her father back home is sick, and no one can cure his sickness. The doctors say that what is needed is the eyes and arms of a pure being. And even if you were able to find such a being, why would anyone offer their arms and eyes to make medicine to cure you? And of course, Ma Shan hears this, and she offers her eyes and arms to be as medicine, to be used as medicine. And she's cured, and the king is cured, and the king requests to see this person who has aided in his wealth, and he recognizes that it was his daughter. And so a statue is requested to be made of her in her honor, but this time with 1,000 arms and 1,000 eyes. So that's sort of the origin and the connection of this story of Mao Shan and this form, this version of Kuan Yin. And this story is interesting because we see a tension here between a tension of filial piety and resistance to marriage. So it's this problem, this issue of Mao Shan disobeying her father in a patriarchal Confucian society, because she refuses to marry so that to help produce a son heir in the family. But yet the story ends because she's revered, she's made into this bodhisattva. But what about women who do not have any interest at all to enter the monastery, or choose to do not want to marry because not because they refuse to do so that they can enter a monastery or the spiritual world, but there's also another sort of cause or another sort of salvation that Kuan Yin may provide for women. And it's mentioned here in the Lotus Sutra. There's a chapter dedicated entirely to Avalokiteshvara, who is mentioned here that there are 33 manifestations, 7 of them are female, and one of them mentions this idea of Avalokiteshvara or Kuan Yin as being this giver of fecundity, of fertility. She, as the chapter describes, Bodhisattva perceive the world sounds will help with this endeavor. So if it is a boy that you are hoping to receive, or even if you would want a female, a girl, the prayers or the obeisance that you would ask of Kuan Yin would be answered. And this image is from Wat Bangkok, Kamalawat. And this is one of 3 images that they have of Kuan Yin. And this one is the white-robed one, which is associated with the giver of fertility. And we also see an interesting case here at Wat Mahal, which is known for Nak Nak or Maynak, the ghost Maynak, who's a famous figure in Thailand and pop culture as well. And I just found out yesterday, I went to the bookstore and I bought this little fun trivia book on Thailand, and I didn't realize that Nak Nak, the 1999 version, is the 7th highest ranking grossing producing film in Thailand, so that's quite interesting. But it's interesting that this shrine to Kuan Yin should be here at this temple as well, because many women come to this temple to Nak Nak because she would provide protection during pregnancy and childbirth, or to ask for a child. So it's interesting that we should see Kuan Yin here as well. There's Nak Nak. Here, I think this is behind the Novotel Hotel. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember where exactly. It's maybe Sofitel, but it's behind a hotel near the Klong Sansa, and people come here also for the same reasons. And it was interesting that I found a little Kuan Yin statue among the images there as well. There's another issue that a Yu Chunfeng, she is the sort of expert on Kuan Yin, particularly in China, and she mentions another sort of issue or problem that's raised among Chinese women, and perhaps the reason why they should pay obeisance to Kuan Yin, or why they should be attracted to following Kuan Yin. And that mainly has to do with of raising children, of bearing children, which also
alludes to the idea of them, the essence of being a woman. So there's this idea of woman being polluted, the menstrual blood and the giving of birth is that self is an act that is polluted, and it's something that's a sort of a paradox because at the same time life is celebrated, right? That giving birth, especially to the son, is celebrated. So to have Kuan Yin, a female representative, an entity for these women, Yu explains is something that has helped Chinese women through all of their sufferings. And she also mentions, she doesn't go into detail, but this is something that's perhaps that's something that would be an interesting further case study is women in prostitution also turn to Kuan Yin. And I think that mainly this has to do with Kuan Yin's nature and the essence, the etymology of who she is. So I'd just like to conclude with this quote here, that Avalokiteshvara's concentration on sound is most universally applicable and helpful for beings. Other senses such as smell, taste, touch, and thought are only intermittently available, whereas sound is constant. So it seems as if this sort of ability to hear the sounds and the cries of her sufferers provides sort of a venue or avenue, a medium for women's voices to be heard. Thank you.